Hi, Evan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Um, so have you ever been to therapy before?
I went one time back when I was probably like 8 years old, 9 years old, and then I went a little bit in college. Besides that, this would be the third time,
Okay.
probably.
That's been a while, but you have been through a little bit before, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you familiar with what confidentiality is then?
Sort of, not entirely. I know the aspect is that like everything that's said within this session is between us and nobody else.
Yeah, exactly. So you can talk about anything you need to talk about here, any problems you want to talk about, or just if you just need to talk about anything. Anything that goes on in this session will stay strictly right here between us. I will not take it anywhere or discuss it with anybody else. Everything's just going to be strictly confidential between us.
Okay.
Okay? But with that, there might be a couple times where I might have to breach our confidentiality, and I want to go over those with you so that you know if something were to happen when those cases might be.
Okay.
Okay? So the first thing would be if you were to tell me that you were thinking about harming yourself or harming someone else, I would be required to report those kinds of things.
Okay.
Okay? Another thing would be if you were telling me that you were in some sort of ongoing like abusive situation and I thought it was becoming like really serious and I was concerned for your safety or safety of someone else, I would be required to report those types of things too, just to keep you on the safe side.
Okay.
Okay? And then another thing would be if I were to receive like a court subpoena requiring me to testify either for or against you in some sort of case, they would require me to discuss some things about our sessions. So I would only discuss like the minimum of what it is to satisfy what they need from me, and I would keep everything else confidential as much as I can that goes on between our sessions.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about any of those?
As of now, no.
Okay. Another simple thing might be like for your insurance company, they can request what's called a, what's it called? Explanation of benefits, sorry.
Okay.
The explanation of benefits. So what that is if there was any sort of like diagnosis or treatment plan where we would get you on some sort of medication or something, your insurance company can request information from me about that just so that they know like what it is that they're hoping to pay for in that situation.
Okay.
But it won't be anything about like what goes on in our sessions, just anything that has to do with like treatment or medications, anything like that.
Okay.
All right. So that covers confidentiality. You have any questions about any of that?
As of now, no.
Okay. Well then. So what is it that brings you here today?
Well, I think the one thing I was want to talk about the most is that the relationship between my father and I, which I'll delve into more. So to explain why, I guess I would talk about it, is that back, as I said, I went to like therapy sessions, like or just like a counselor back. I would say back in like 05, 06 maybe.
Okay.
I think 2005 would be the correct year. Excuse me. But my parents divorced when I was about, I think 7, I believe. Which, I mean, here in Richmond, that's not uncommon for parents to divorce. It's pretty common here. It's common anywhere. But anyways, they got divorced back in like 04, but then 05 went to more therapy sessions to kind of deal with that. And so my dad was, I think if I recall correctly, my dad was, me and my dad had a really good relationship back when my mom and my dad were together. We had a really good relationship. And then it kind of started to go downhill after they got divorced, which was for good reasoning, I guess. Kind of find out my dad was like cheating on my mom. He was doing drugs, like pretty heavy drugs. And he just his mental state also was just deteriorating as well with that, with doing drugs and then just living a very reckless lifestyle. And so my dad would kind of lie to my sister and I. We would go over to his house after the divorce and kind of say that our mom was the bad guy in the situation, which was clearly wrong with how my mom like obviously wasn't doing anything wrong with like while they were married. My dad was doing the reckless stuff. And so me and my dad's relationship kind of deteriorated after that. I didn't know he was lying at that point about that stuff because I wasn't aware of what was going on. I mean, I was like 7, 8,
Okay.
so I didn't really understand what was going on or like all that, which I assumed it was me and my sister's fault, which a lot of kids kind of think that. And so my dad would tell me, oh, like your mom's a bad guy, like it's your mom's fault we're not together. So I would constantly think that in my head, and then I'd go home and like be really upset with my mom. And so like it made my mom upset too. And I think like this is just kind of a slow build up to nowadays, just like me learning everything and then me kind of like determining what I want to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been the kind of person to say like, well, I mean, you can't really like be upset with people like for stuff they did in the past. People change and all that. You can give people another chance, which it's hard sometimes depending on the person and like what they did, especially when you were so young at that time and like you were, you know, you're just a kid. So it's like you took advantage of a little kid really to say like to think these things. It's like that's terrible. But it goes on to do even more. Like there's even more stuff that occurred. So before I knew my dad was kind of like lying into my ear about everything. I knew my dad wasn't like the best guy in the world, but my dad also like gave me and my sister a little bit more freedom when we went over there. Like me and my sister would stay up late, watch cartoons and all that stuff. When we were at our mom's house, it was kind of like we had to do chores and everything like that when we went to our
A
dad's
little
house.
more strict.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a lot more freedom at our dad's house, I guess. He would let us ride around town on bikes, like go to the grocery store, get some like snacks or something like that, eat junk food. So it was really fun. But at the same time, like it made the illusion that being with our dad was better than being with our mom, and in reality, being with her mom was probably the best.
Situation for you guys at that age.
Yes, to be that age, it was probably best to be with her mom, and we realized that. But then I think the moment that I knew me and my dad's relationship was starting to end was when my dad got another woman pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got another woman pregnant, and I don't remember exactly when the kid was born. I remember my dad was taking us back to my mom. We were in the car, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, he's like, you guys are gonna be really excited to hear this. Me and the woman's name are going to have a kid." And my sister was like, "Oh really?" And I just sat there like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like,
Kind of shocked, huh?
yeah, I was like, "That's ridiculous." I was like, "Me and my sister are here." It's like, "You don't need another kid." He's like, "Well," he's like, "We're having one," and I just like immediately was just so angry. And come to find out from my mom that day, and my mom told me, and I was still really young, she's like, "Well, your dad wanted me to tell you guys, that way I look like the bad guy in the situation again." And that's when I thought, so what else has my dad really been lying about? And so I was still very young at that time, that I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to approach him about it, and I don't think he really got it. And after the kid was born, I despised the kid entirely, which I know that's probably very irrational of me to think that, but I genuinely disliked the kid just for the
Yeah.
fact that I saw it as my dad messed up raising us, but then he's going to treat this kid way better, and that to me was just injustifiable. So I don't like the kid at all. It's terrible of me to say that. I hate that kid, and I just genuinely despise that kid.
It's
But
alright. You got some feelings of,
it's just
anger
it's just
and
some
kind of some resentment built up.
it's a lot of resentment, I will say, and which my mom and my stepdad have told me constantly that it's not his fault, which I entirely get. It's not his fault, but at the same time I put my anger into that. But so I've kind of kept a little bit more distant relationship from my dad since then. Then obviously when I got my own car, got like more freedoms, I decided like my mom gave me the choice of, I will let you decide if you want to go visit your dad. I was like, that's entirely up to you now. So, which by law we were required, I believe, to go over there once a week and then every other weekend.
Okay.
Which was really weird for our me and Chase's home life, just to kind of figure out what we were to do, because we would stay at our mom's, and then Wednesdays after school we would go to our dad's house. We were over there until my mom got off work, which would be like 9 o'clock, and then every other weekend we'd switch over, which it wasn't terrible going over there. I mean, it was nice. I mean, we had like video games over there, and I had my own little freedoms. So did my sister. My sister wanted to stop going entirely. That was kind of strange because I decided that, my dad's not a good guy. He's not the good of a guy at all. But I'll still attempt to make a relationship and see if it works out.
Okay.
Which I thought it was like a good try for me to do. And it wasn't bad. I'd go over there about, I'd say, once every 3 weeks just to pop in and say hi.
Just to say hey.
Oh, I'd say hey. I'd stay over there for about like 1 or 2 hours, and it wasn't a bad visit. It wasn't a bad. We caught up and stuff. And then when I went to college, it went down to like once every like 2 months.
Kind of slowed down with the relationship there.
Yeah, which it wasn't terrible. And the only other thing that really got me mad was that my dad was constantly telling me to go to college. And then when I went to college, by law, I think we required that I pay a third, my mom pays a third, and then he pays a third. He's paid, I think, $200 out of the thousands of dollars we paid for college. So I don't know why he doesn't want to provide for his children. That's one thing I also don't understand. He doesn't provide for my sister, but he gives his other kid, his youngest, he gives him he goes to Seton.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like I don't understand how you can do that knowing you have 2 other kids out there that needed your support for so long and you won't bat an eye to it.
Yeah.
And so that really got me angry. And then it also irritates me because my dad will constantly. I used to be on my dad's phone plan, and which is grateful. I'm happy that he let me on his phone plan. It was nice of him, but at the same time, he stopped paying the phone bills. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay it back in like a couple weeks." I was like, "I need a phone. I need a phone." I was like, "I have to contact people." I was like, "That's what I have to do." I was like, "What if my work calls me? Whether it's an emergency?"
Yeah.
And finally, there was one event that occurred when my phone was shut off. I missed work because my alarm didn't go off because my phone died and work was constantly calling me. So I missed work. And I was supposed to leave for Savannah, Georgia the next day, which it's kind of hard to travel without directions
Yeah.
or music, and also being able to call your parents if there's an emergency.
For sure.
So I had to cancel an entire trip just based off him and his reckless behaviors. And he told me, he's like, "Oh yeah, you probably won't have a phone for about a month or so." He's like, "Sprint wants me to pay $900 for a phone bill." And my first thought was, how can you get your bill that high?
Yeah.
Or not Verizon, it was Sprint. And I was like, how can you get your phone bill that high? Well, he's constantly forgot to pay his phone bill, so it just stacked up and stacked up. And I mean, the guy has a job as a registered nurse. He's a registered nurse.
So
Yet
he's got some income coming in then.
Yeah, he tries to blame it on child support, which he always paid child support, but he never paid for our health or anything like that. He never once he could get rid of us on health insurance, he got rid of us. Which I've been without health insurance for I don't know how long. I mean, I have it now, but that's because I did it myself. But I mean, he has a stable income, but yet he spends it on God knows what.
You don't really know, huh?
Well, the last couple times I went over there, me and my mom got into an argument. I had to just walk out of the house, and I went over there. I go over there, and he lives in squalor. It's just filthy houses. There's dog poop on the floors. There's just trash everywhere. The house smells like just garbage, and I'm like, dude, you have a pretty good life going on right now. What's the deal? My dad also likes to play the victim card a lot, saying nothing's his fault, it's other people's faults.
Yeah.
So and he's like, "Oh yeah, I would have all this stuff if me and your mom didn't get a divorce, or if this person would just give me some money or something like that, or something like that." And then finally, after the whole phone thing and him canceling, making me have to cancel my trip, I decided I'm over this. I was like, I don't want any contact with him. So he still doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have a phone.
Okay.
So he constantly sends me messages through Facebook Messenger, just saying "Oh, you ever gonna talk to your dad again? Miss you, love you." And I just ignore it because I just think it's better off to be that way. And then he's like, "Dude, you really have to talk to me." He's like, "You have to talk to me." He sent me one message. I think it was about a month ago, saying "Dude," he's like, "I'm in a bad spot in my life right now." He's like, He's like, I'm thinking of ending my life, blah, blah, blah. He's like, nothing ever goes my way. No one ever understands me. I was like, it sounded like he was using again almost, which I was like, what is going on? Which I knew a girl he was dating for a while has been in and out of rehab a lot. So I didn't know if possibly he tried again or something like that, which at that point it's not even my business. I don't really want to know. I don't care. But I think like he just sent some wild messages. He sent me a message probably like a week or 2 weeks ago saying he sent me a message to a Pink Floyd song and said, I used to listen to this song and smoke doobies in my car while you were born. Like good times. And like, why do you send that to me? It's like, I don't need to know
kind
this.
Of strange
It's
messages.
just really strange stuff. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, I get he's trying to make attempts, but his attempts are
A little odd.
very unorthodox.
Yeah.
And then the girl that he's dating, or was dating, I'm not sure if they're dating anymore, her name's Melissa, and she's like 28. And my dad dimension's almost
a little
50.
significantly younger than.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap. And she sends me messages like, oh, you need to talk to your dad. It's like, it's absolutely childish of you not to talk to him. He's like, he needs you guys. And I am like, who are you to tell me to talk to my own father? I was like, that is up to me. I was like, this is not your business. Get out of it.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Like someone who's almost probably your age and.
Yeah. It's like, you should not be picking his fights.
Yeah.
So that also extremely irritated me. And my sister as well, to kind of tie this in with what I'm trying to say here. My sister broke ties off with my dad the first chance she got.
Okay.
Which I don't know why. I don't think my dad I don't think my dad really wanted a girl, I think. And I also don't think my dad really respects women too much. My dad has always seemed like a very misogynistic person, which I don't know if that's, I don't know that entirely. I don't know that for a fact. This is kind of my theory. But I thought it strange that my sister just cut it off right then and there. That's why I tried to at least make an attempt. I was like, at least my father has one kid he can see, just to kind of think about it. I was like, well, maybe, I should try. But then I went to my sister's like, yeah, I haven't seen him in like, I mean, last time I saw him was probably March, maybe?
So it's been some months then.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good time. I mean, we kept in contact like one time. That was when my phone got shut off, and I was trying to figure out what to do, and after that I was just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And then so it led up to here, and so I've had like thoughts of like, well, do I try to initiate like a relationship again, or should I just not bother? Which the good part of me is telling me, at least try to make an attempt. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, like the devil on my shoulders, like
all of that stuff that's been.
Well, it's like it's been just constantly building up. It's just like constantly building up.
For a long time, it sounds like.
Well, I mean, I was like, I've always given the benefit of the doubt. I was like, I'll try. I'll try. And then at some point, you just gotta stop if nothing good's coming out of it. It's like trying to revive a rotting corpse. It's like nothing's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure.
So sounds like a lot.
Yeah,
a lot has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, and it's not like it's all been happening at once. It's like it hasn't all been happening at once. If it all happened at once, I'd be stressed out of my mind about it.
I can imagine.
It's been over like a good how old am I now? 21. It's been like over 10 years in the making.
Okay.
So
when your parents, you said they got divorced, and then around the time when you said your dad was having another child, how about old were you then? Was that like a little while after the divorce, or was that like pretty soon after?
It would have been, so they got divorced when I was in about first or second grade.
Okay.
Which would have been 04, 05.
Yeah, okay.
Which I would have been 7 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think he had another kid when I was in 5th grade.
Okay, so it was a little bit of time.
Yeah, it was about 3 years. Which within those 3 years, me and my dad sort of developed a pretty good relationship.
That's when you said you were going over there, and he would let you guys kind of have your freedoms and take you to do fun stuff.
And I mean, my dad did some. I will say within that time period, me and my dad got along a lot because me and my dad were really into Star Wars. My dad got me into Star Wars.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt right now. But, yeah, he really got me into Star Wars, so we really bonded over that. And also, my dad really got me into, like, Indiana Jones, all that sort of things, like video games, all that stuff. I would go over there and I could play video games I couldn't play at my mom's. Because I would go home to my mom's house. I still had video games, but there were some video games I wasn't allowed to play.
Yeah.
Like
Your dad kind of let you get away with a little bit more than mom would, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
which I think at that point it was okay. But like, you know, we'd go there, we'd be able to play like Grand Theft Auto. Go back home, I was like, oh, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We also couldn't watch South Park or like Family Guy or anything like that at my mom's because she thought it was inappropriate.
So it sounds like you had fun at your dad's house.
Yeah,
You liked
going
it.
to our dad's house was almost like a vacation.
Okay.
Which also came like as a sacrifice in some sense because we also lacked hygiene when we went to our dad's. Like my dad wouldn't let us like make us brush our teeth or anything like that. He's like, oh no, you kids run along, eat candy, you know,
Okay.
eat junk food. Which to us as kids, I was like, that's amazing, that's awesome.
Right. That's always fun when you're little
Yeah.
like that.
That's yeah, back then it was really fun. And then once like he told me that, I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't fun anymore. Because I remember one incident, we were playing a video game, like a Star Wars video game, back before he had the kid, and like we would sit there and play it all night. Then once he had the kid, it would constantly be, we would play it, and then we had to press pause all the time. Because he had to run there, take care of the kid,
Okay.
come back out, and it's like, okay, I see how it is. And then, yeah, after that, I was just like, this is
A
not,
little indifferent towards it.
yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm kind of following your direction here. You've told me a lot, and
Yeah, it's
it
a lot.
sounds
It's a lot
like-
to take in.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I just want to make sure I'm like keeping up with you. So, what it sounds like to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Just let me know if I'm going in the right direction here. If this sounds right. So, growing up, you had a pretty good like image of your dad. You thought he was a pretty good guy. Sounds like you guys were pretty close, and then the divorce happened, and then you're kind of questioning a little bit like what was really going on, and it sounds like your dad kind of wanted to keep that image almost that you had of him.
Yeah, that would be
And
the
so-
best way to go about it.
Yeah, so like trying to kind of put the blame on your mom and make it seem like it was her fault, and that seems one really difficult to be a kid in the middle of two parents trying to, tell you
Yeah.
the truth, but also
The-
not
and-
really keeping it honest with you.
Of course, and I believe that you shouldn't put your kids at all in that scenario.
Yeah,
that's
never,
wrong.
Yeah, it's
I feel like they're
That's not
going
a
through
good
enough at
situation.
that point.
Yeah.
That you shouldn't do that.
and I feel like you should always have the best interest of your kids in mind. And
Of course.
I'm not saying they didn't, but maybe they just didn't go about it in the best way.
I think that, and they also didn't consider the consequences of it, because still at that point, a kid's mind is still very fragile.
Yeah.
And if you go about, like, if you manipulate your kids like that, you can really mess them up.
Yeah, you look up to your parents. They're your
Yeah.
You want to be like your parents, and then when they're kind of throwing these different ideas and you're not really sure what's real and what's not anymore, that can definitely frustrate you and make you feel a little anger.
I mean, to me, I'm not angry or like
Okay.
anything about it really right now. It's more I'm frustrated, but I'm not to the point where I'm like infuriated.
Yeah, okay. You're just kind of. It sounds like you still like want to care about your dad, like you do care about your dad, but he's just let you down so many times in the past and kind of almost feeling abandoned in a way.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to go
You
about
think
it.
so?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I mean, like you were saying, like playing video games with your dad and like hanging out over there, and it was always like you guys, even though he may not have taken the best care of you, like you said, as far as hygiene and stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like he wanted to like just be like the fun parent and like. have you
Which
guys
I get.
fun over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then the new kid comes along, so you're a little bit apprehensive about that and feeling a little hurt because he has you guys, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the baby kind of taking away your time
Yeah.
with your dad.
Well, I didn't mention this as well, and I completely forgot about it. There was also an event that occurred. It would have been right after or right before the kid was born.
Okay.
Our house got foreclosed on. So
Your dad's house or
my mom's,
your mom's
and
house,
it was
okay.
due to something with my dad because my dad was like, I don't remember all the like stuff about it, but it was because it had to do with my dad.
okay.
So that we had the house got foreclosed on, so we had to move out, and we were living in a garage for, I would say, about 4 months or so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we were living in a garage, which it was across the street from our house that I'm living at now,
Okay.
because there's a white house across the street from our house, and that was where my grandma and grandpa lived, and so they were like, "Come live here for now," and so we lived there, and then my grandfather bought the house back, so we had to be able to move back in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I forget the whole reasoning behind it, but it was something to do with my dad that the house got foreclosed on. I don't remember it, but and the legal aspects of it don't interest me at all, so I'm not going to ask.
Yeah.
So, but I just know it's something to do with my dad caused the house to be foreclosed on, which I found that out, and I'm like, great. I was like, that's another traumatizing part of my life that was,
Yeah. Sounds like Dad's kind of caused you a lot of grief, and you're
It's-
trying to have a relationship with somebody who's not really like supporting you the way they should.
yeah, it's frustrating for me
Definitely.
more than it is anything. It's just
Yeah.
frustrating, and it's not to the point where I'm like, as I said, I'm not infuriated. It's just I'm more disappointed almost, and also just a little bit like I said, I'm frustrated.
For sure. Sorry about the stomach.
Thank you.
Our session is kind of coming near the end of it right now. So I want to ask you, what is it that what do you want to get from all of this situation? Are you looking to, rekindle this relationship with your dad? Are you just not really sure where you want to go from there? Are you thinking more of, what's your goal with this? Where do you want to go?
I think maybe some closure, or just be able to move on, I guess, because as said, I mean, I don't really want to try to restart a relationship with my father. I think it's not worth it. I think either way it's just going to end. Like, it's,
Like
and
it
not- it's
has
not-
been?
yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Okay, just kind of a repeating cycle.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe, you said you've been trying to figure out like if you want to talk to your dad, he's been trying to get a hold of you, but he's kind of like telling you have to talk to him. Do you think maybe like going to see him and like having a conversation and trying to get that closure would help with this? Like, have you ever talked to your dad about all of this?
I did a long time ago. I wouldn't say, well, not a long time ago. It would have been like late 2016, I think. Me and my dad.
Okay.
Well, my dad got into I remember this because the election occurred, and I was talking to my dad, or not I wasn't talking to my dad, but I said something about the election, and my dad was saying things like personal to me about my decisions, and I was like, what? I was like, this is not what I'm talking about. I was like, be professional.
Yeah.
It's like, or at least talk about politically the reason you don't agree with me.
Yeah, don't make it all personal.
Yeah. And so that's like,
especially in that closer relationship.
well, that's like, I blew up and I was like, you have no right to talk about personal stuff. I could bring up so many things about you. I said something coming along is like, coming from a father figure like you, this doesn't make much sense. And then we started arguing really bad, probably the worst we've ever argued. And he got all apologetic, and I was like, that's okay, and all that. I think I should have just blew him off on that and just went about my day.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of just struggling with whether or not you want to just end this relationship altogether.
I feel like there's one side of me that says I have to because he's my father, and there's another side that says it doesn't. There's another side of me that says it doesn't matter if he's your father or not. He's a bad man. You shouldn't associate with him. So it's more of choosing which side to go with. The side of he's my father is just more the respectful side out of me, and just out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just who
trying to
you
do that.
are as
Yeah.
a person. You can't.
And then there's one side of me is like, it doesn't matter who he is. It's like he's still going to be the same person.
Yeah.
So it's finding the balance between the two.
Definitely. That can be really hard, especially with somebody who's close to you like that and you feel you have strong feelings for. I think it's important to remember though that your overall well-being and the way you feel, like you have to put yourself first sometimes, and
Yeah.
even though he is your father, like yes, he is your dad, he will probably always be there, and you don't have to necessarily just stop that relationship altogether, but you should definitely put yourself first when
when you're thinking about the types of relationships that you do want to keep having.
Yeah.
So if your relationship with your dad is kind of just causing you a little more headache and stress and kind of wearing on you more than it is like a positive relationship, maybe that's something you should really pay attention to, you know, like your intuition. Just if you're struggling this much with, do I stop, but he's my dad, then I think it's possible for you to still care about your dad and not necessarily close him off completely, but I think it's safe for you to want to distance yourself a little bit from that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that seems like a really good approach to go with it.
Yeah, you don't have to cut it off completely. You could still check in, say hey, things like that, but also keep your comfortable distance with it so that it's not really, you know, wearing on your mental state. You
Yeah.
shouldn't, you know, try not to worry so much that it's really just like causing you stress in your daily life
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
And maybe in the future you can, you know, open those doors back up, maybe give it some time, and then, like you said, sometimes people change and stuff. You can, he's your dad, he's gonna be there, so maybe in the future, if you kind of get your feelings out a little bit and rethink some things, you guys can try to open those doors back up and see where you can go with that relationship.
Okay.
Does that sound alright?
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, unfortunately our session is over for today, but I hope that helped a little bit.
Oh,
and if you got
yeah, it
something out
helped
of
very
this session-
much.
Cool.
Gave me some clarification.
Good, awesome. Well, I'm glad we got to talk, and I hope that you'll come back.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sweet.